right, we're continuing to look at the reading skill chronological order this week. We always go to our question first. What do the workers do after they collect the fabric, okay, from the marketplace? 2, what do the workers do prior? That means in front, before. That's another word for before. I'm going to write that before so I know that. To patching together scraps to make scarves and towels. What is the last step? The company performs in order to ensure zero waste. Okay, so last step. And then which event best fits into the model below? All right, best fits. Okay, so this is what happens first, then second, and then we'll need to figure out what goes in this one. All right. So looking at our model and looking at our questions, let's get ready to read our text. Zero waste. The fashion industry is ever changing. What's in style now will probably be out of style a year from now. Many people change their clothing choices depending upon the season and the current fashion. When items of clothing are no longer fit or they are thrown out or When items of clothing no longer fit, they are thrown out or donated. Although donating clothes is very kind, a large majority of donated clothes still end up getting tossed out eventually. Factories that produce clothing also throw out a lot of fabric scraps when creating new styles. So where does all this fabric go when we toss it? Unfortunately, most of it ends up in landfills. This is very harmful to the environment. Rachel Fowler found this problematic. It was like, because it was harmful to the environment and it fills up landfills, that's problematic. She decided to start her own fabric company, and because of this problem, then she's now doing this. Rachel Fowler found this problematic. She decided to start her own fabric company. Why did she do that? Because of fabrics being tossed into landfills and being harmful. So she decided to start her own fabric company that used recycled fabric to create new clothing. That's really cool. All right, so let's see. She decided to start her own fabric company. Why? Because of this problem right here. That's pretty neat. That used recycled fabric to create new clothing. The company sends its workers to the marketplace in Cambodia to buy the leftover scraps thrown out by big factories. Okay, so she sends her company sends workers to Cambodia to buy leftover scraps thrown out by big factories. Okay, they dig through mountains of scraps and pull out what they know they can use. That is really cool. Dig and pull out. Okay, they then take the scraps back to their warehouse where they wash it, dry it, and press it. Okay, I like that word then. That's a time order word. They take the scraps back to their warehouse where they wash it, dry it, and press it. After the fabric is prepared, the workers cut the larger pieces first, like dresses and shirts. Okay, so after it's cleaned and pressed, then they cut the larger pieces first, like for dresses and shirts. The leftover scraps from the dresses and shirts are cut into strips and patterns. All right, the word leftover. Okay, scraps. Okay, they patch these pieces together to make larger items like scarves or towels. That's cool. The process doesn't end there. With what's left over after the working process, so it continues. Workers use the even smaller scraps to create yarn. Wow. Okay, so after the strips and the patterns, then they take even the smaller scraps to create yarn. I mean, they're using all of it, which they use to make blankets and jackets. Once they have completed all these steps, they are left with a tiny amounts of leftover fabric. These leftovers are so thin, they are basically string. Do they throw the string out? No. They even reuse the string. They press the string in order to create paper. Wow. From this paper, they create greeting cards. So as you can see, the company has accomplished their goal. Can you imagine a world with zero waste? This company can. Wow, that is really cool. I like that. I like that. She was very much of an innovator in her thinking of how to solve this problem and not continue for it to continue to be a problem. Okay. All right, so we're looking at chronological order. We're looking at time order words or steps of a process. All right, so we go back to our questions, and we're looking at question 1. What do the workers do after they collect the fabric from the marketplace? So I go back over here, and I look at, and that's why I underline, because right here, I just go back and I see exactly in my text where I want to go. What do they do after? Okay, let me make sure my question. What do the workers do after they collect the fabric from the marketplace? Okay. The company sends its workers to the marketplace in Cambodia to buy the leftover scraps thrown out by the big factories. They dig through the mountains of scraps and pull out what they can use. So let's just see. All right, they dig through the mountains of scraps. I just read that, so I know it's right, but I'm just going to go ahead and look at my other ones. They take the scraps back to their warehouse. Nope, that didn't happen. Looking at the word after. The company sends, yes, those are steps, but this is the one that was right after. And do you see? It's right after, because here it's talking about going to the big factories, and the next step is to pull out the fabric, the scraps of fabric that they can use. Okay. All right, number 2. What do the workers do prior, so that means before, to patching together scraps to make scarves and towels? And again, love that I'm underlining, because look right here, I can just go back through and scan real quick. Scarves and towels. Okay, so there's scarves and towels. So my question is, what do they do before that? Okay. All right, so they create yarn to make blankets and jackets. Let's see. No, that seems that that's afterwards. Okay. They dig through mountains of scraps to pull out what they know they can use. No, that is I think too many steps above. What do they do right before? So if I look right here and I see that where I'm looking for with my steps in this process of scarves and towels, then I'm going to look to see what do they do right before that. Let's see, they cut it into patterns. I think I'm even going to get above that. After the fabric is prepared, the workers cut the larger pieces first, like dresses and shirts. Let's see if I can find that. They create yarn to make blankets. No, I'm going to make that. They dig through mountains of scraps to pull out what they know they can use. We already talked about that. They cut larger pieces. From the fabrics for dresses and shirts. Well, look, that is above right here. So C is my answer. So you're going to do 3 and 4 on this, looking at chronological order. All right. So we're going to go on to our next day, and so it is going to be December 17th. We always go to the questions first. We're still looking at chronological order. We have not changed our reading skill for this week. Which statement is true according to the text? Okay, so we want to look. Which one is true? Okay. All right, number 2. Which of the following was not, I want to circle that, one of Hillary's accomplishments prior to reaching the top? Okay, prior to reaching the top. All right, so 2 are going to be correct and 1's incorrect. I want to find the one that's not correct. 3, according to the text, what happened once Hillary and Norgay reached the summit of Mount Everest? Okay, so we want to know what happened. What happened once they got there? What happened? Okay, what happened once they got there? So they got there and then something else happened. All right, number 4. What year did Norgay begin making ascents from Mount Everest? So what year did he start? And number 5. Which of the following is a true statement about life for Hillary and Norgay after their successful ascent to Mount Everest? Okay, so which one's a true statement after they're successful? Okay, so which statement is true? Which of the following words was not one of Hillary's accomplishments prior? That means, what did she do before she did this accomplishment? According to the text, what happened once Hillary and Norgay reached the summit? Okay, so what happened? They reached it, and then something happened. What year? So I need to be looking at these dates. And which of the following is a true statement about life for Hillary and Norgay after their successful ascent? So I'm going to do 1 and 2 with you, and then you're going to answer 3, 4, and 5 on your own. All right. Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay. Mount Everest, the Earth's highest mountain, taunted the most ambitious climbers for years before any professional climber successfully reached the summit. Sir Edmund Hillary and his Sherpa guide, Sherpa is a guide, Tenzing Norgay, were credited, what does that mean? They were the first ones known, as being the first to make it to the top of Mount Everest. Prior to their success in 1953, there had been other attempts without success. Okay, so prior to this success, that means before they did it, there were many who attempted without success. From the first attempt in 1922, so look at the difference of those dates. Wow. The first attempt was 1922 to Hillary and Norgay's success. 13 people had died trying to reach the top of Mount Everest. So from 1922 to 1953, 13 people had died trying to accomplish reaching the top. Hillary knew his dream of reaching the top of Mount Everest was extremely dangerous. Well, yeah. How do I know that? Because 13 people died from trying. But he could not deny his dreams. Hillary had already conquered Mount Cook, climbed the Alps in Switzerland, and scaled 11 of the Himalayan peaks. When it came to choosing a climbing partner, Norgay was the obvious partner for Hillary. Norgay had already made it 4,000 feet higher than any other climber on Everest. Wow, so what made him pick him? Was he'd gone 4,000 feet higher than any other climber on Mount Everest. So Norgay tried to do it, made attempts at trying to do it also on Everest, and proved time and time again that he was fit and strong. So why did he choose him? Because he had gotten up higher than any other climber, and he was fit and strong. Norgay was also the most experienced, as he had been making ascents to Mount Everest since 1935. So he was experienced. Okay, all right. So those are some very strong qualities to pick in a guide. Hillary and Norgay spent 7 weeks battling the cold and treacherous conditions of the mountain. Wow, 7 weeks. Again, this was back in 1953. 7 weeks, and we thought Brian had it bad in Hatchet. Battling the cold and treacherous, that means dangerous. Battling the cold and treacherous conditions of the mountain. On May 29th, the team reached the summit only to enjoy their accomplishment a mere 15 minutes before beginning their descent. So they only were up there 15 minutes. So May 29th was the day they reached the top. The team reached the summit only to enjoy their accomplishment for a mere 15 minutes. Now that makes me wonder why. Why 15 minutes? Well, this is my prediction, what I think. This is what I wonder. How cold it was. If it was 7 weeks of battling the cold and treacherous, the higher you go up, the colder it is. All right. The team knew that they could only allow themselves a short amount of time due to the low supply of oxygen. When you're that high, your oxygen level is low, and it causes problems when your oxygen level is low. They spent the next 3 days descending the mountain. News of their 3 days descending. I'm going to go ahead and underline that too. News of their accomplishment spread around the world, and the pair became instant stars. Wow, around the world. Since Hillary and Norgay, there have been many successful expeditions to the top of Mount Everest. So since, many successful expeditions to the top of Mount Everest. Hillary continued climbing, but also worked tirelessly to build schools. Oh, that's neat. And hospitals for the people of Nepal. That's why Mount Everest is the homeland of the mountain he loved so much. Norgay, so this is what Hillary did. Norgay continued climbing and also became a director for a company that trained mountain climbers. Wow, so so what did he do afterwards? He continued climbing and then became a director for a company that trained mountain climbers. That's kind of cool. He got paid. He got a job doing what he loved to do. Norgay passed away in 1986. Wow. Okay, so we'll just... And Hillary lived until 2008. Although they have passed, their legacy continues. All right, that's a lot of neat information about that accomplishment. All right, so we're going to look at which statement is true according to the text. All right, so let's look at nobody ever attempted climbing Mount Everest before Hillary and Norgay's success in 1953. Well, no. If I can see the first attempt was 1922, that was way before, so I'm going to eliminate that one. That is not true. There were unsuccessful climbs of Mount Everest prior, that means before, Hillary and Norgay's success in 1953. Okay, well, let's see, go back up there. Yeah, it said there were several because of the deaths that have happened. All right, so I'm going to look at that as a possibility. Prior to 1922, a few selected teams reached the summit. That means the top of Mount Everest. Well, no, we learned that the first time someone got there was 1953. So my correct answer for number 1 is B. All right, let's look at number 2. Which of the following was not one of Hillary's accomplishments prior to reaching the top of Mount Everest? Okay, so what did he... There's two that are false and 1 is true. So let's look at it. Scaling the Himalayan peaks. Well, he did do that, so I'm going to eliminate that one. Conquering Mount Cook. Well, he did do that one too. Building schools and hospitals for the people of Nepal. Which of the following was not one of before? Okay, so this did happen afterwards. So C is my correct answer. These all happened before. This one happened after. And the word prior, I know, means before. All right, you're going to complete 3, 4, and 5 on your own.